Hello everybody, let's exit to port. It is, at the time of this recording, the 18th of February at 10:20 Central European Time. Or Central Barovian Time, all depending on how we see it. Welcome to episode 2 of season 6. Exit to port. We have a lot of stuff in front of us, but one of the more important things we need to do is say thank you to our patrons for supporting us over on patreon.com/exit-to-port. That's patreon.com/exit-to-port, and for $2 equivalent per month, you can also support us in this endeavor to make the best podcast in the world. I'm not sure that's what we're aiming for, but one of the things you can do for those things is you can leave us a message or ask a question, or you can specifically say hello to my wonderful co-host, Mr. Grumbles the Dwarf.
Hello, 'tis I.
Short and to the point. A man of few words, this.
Yeah, well, you sent me off down a rabbit hole with some of your intro.
Oh.
You made me think of making a podcast called The Greatest Podcast in the World Tribute. And it's a music podcast about cover bands and how they're just never quite as good as the originals or something like that.
Has there ever been a cover of a song that's been more widely reserved or received than the original?
Don't know. Probably.
Probably has, yeah.
Especially if you go back through the decades, because there'll be stuff that just wasn't publicized or whatever, and it first came to light, and people think it's done by the person covering it.
Yeah, Black Betty comes to mind instantly, which was a cover of a different one, but yeah. Leonard Skinner's version was the one that really kicked off. Anyway, speaking of kicking off, there's so many things to talk about in the world. And, yeah. Before we fully dig into this, there's a couple of questions and comments where we won't be reading all of it on the podcast, on the episode. One of the questions we have received has already been answered in DMs. So yeah, we just want to highlight that even though we do get the question, it's not necessarily going to get read. It's not due to anything nefarious or such. It's just we kind of decided that it'd be better to answer it properly in a DM rather than sit here and air out everything. But the questions do get answered, and that's kind of an important thing for us. But we're just gonna roll straight into the first few bits of the podcast. We're gonna talk about the games we've been playing or touching on or thinking about or seeing pop up on the horizon for us. And we're gonna start off with something different. Why does it do that now? I fixed everything. No, that's okay. I'm just gonna quickly change a few things. God damn it. Pretty much.
Technical issue screen.
God damn it. I went through all of this yesterday and saw that everything was fine and I didn't adjust anything, and now we had our first little derp. Whatever. It's off to something completely different, as I was trying to say. We played something on my birthday celebration not that long ago, called Ransom Notes, a tabletop game. We played it in Tabletop Simulator, but I've been seeing this silly game on TikTok and other places for so long, and I mean, it does what it says on the tin. Like it's Ransom Notes, and we had there were giggles. There were giggles, and there were cheeks hurting from this, and there was confused dwarf noises, or Grumbles noises, rather. I should say. You're no longer Grumbles the dwarf. Should we talk about that?
I have not disavowed or been banished.
No, okay, that's good.
We just have a new pseudonym.
But yeah, Ransom Notes, it gives you a prompt that you need to answer, and then you have broken sentences to explain this. How do we explain some of the prompts that we were answering to people so that they understand the game in a good way?
I guess they just give you it's sort of almost like an everyday circumstance or situation, but with a twist to it. So it makes it slightly awkward, I guess. And then you just get this palette of words to choose from, and you're like, how do I answer this slightly awkward, like socially awkward circumstance? Yeah.
I recently saw a TikTok where one of the prompts was apologize to Russia for launching a missile in their direction.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the answer was, oops, bestie, I'm sorry.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because like, but I did notice one thing, and I've told you this already, and it is that the physical magnet card that they have in the table version of it was way smaller. Like we had way too much room to work with to put sentences and words and so on. So I think next time I play this, I'll say there's a 10 word maximum, give or take a few, because it forces you to be a bit less descriptive with the use of the words, and less stories being told and more prompts being answered, I guess.
Yeah, I thought that it was a lot of fun, especially because we have a good group of people. Maybe the one or the other not there or whatever, but from what we've had from similar evenings before. But it's a good crowd and people that kind of trust each other and just know that we're all there just to giggle and have some laughs. I think there's my takeaway from it was we made a lot of fun together with that. We decided to ignore the timer, which I think would be the counter rather than necessarily the smaller card or the word limit or whatever. I think that's where the counter would come in. They had a very, very short timer, it seems. I'm not sure exactly how long it was, but it was pretty short. And I think that would have forced us to pick like 10 words or whatever. Yeah. You would have struggled to get a lot of stuff out of there. I think the one thing I found in a positive way challenging was like how to come up with, like, the way we did it was how to make some sentences and make like a sort of a story response to the prompts. And I think everyone was doing that in very creative ways. I think that was, good fun. Where I'm not sure or where, if I contrast it with something like Fun Employed, which I think is my favorite one of these, the one thing I found with the Ransom Notes was it was maybe because of the way we adapted to play it or whatever, is that it felt that it didn't have the same flow to it, the same back and forth. So
Yeah.
with Fun Employed, it's a two people in a room interview circumstance where you're going back and forth. And that one I get the most enjoyment out of, because you're both kind of having to improvise and react to, using the cards, but like, how do you explain this? Or
Yeah.
whereas the Ransom Note one, I felt that because it was very random in just like, here's a bunch of words, go. You're jumping through additional hoops in the challenge of trying to make some sort of comprehensible response sentence. And then you've got the whole world like reading it back and forth between the person who was judging that round and whatever. So I felt like the Ransom Note, whilst super fun in our group, I didn't think it flowed as well.
No,
If that makes sense.
it's a different type of game. Yeah, definitely. But I think if we'd limited the amount of words, it like the flow of the game would be quicker. But one thing I will say regarding it is that much like when we play Gartic Phone, you don't need to force the humor. Like, you don't need to force it. It'll be there by itself. So just let go of any preconceived notions of answering to a card czar or such. It's just go with the flow. Like, and answer straightforward. Like, keep things simple. It'll be better. That's one thing that I quickly learned from it, and because, well, I mean, if you try to force the humor in it, it's very obvious. But yeah, no, I quickly kind of picked up on that. I was like, okay, yeah, no, I see where we're going with this, and I'm okay with this. I will definitely play again, but maybe with the time limit on. Who knows? But Fun Employed is still top of the pops for my sake too. Just because it's so, at least the way we play it, I like how we play it, where there's role play, there's fun, there's the interactions. Although, can I just warn people not to show up for this if you have a busted rib, Andretos?
Really, any of the party nights, to be honest, regardless of what we're playing, you're gonna struggle, or you're gonna be in pain. I mean, most of us end up in gentle sore cheek kind of pain anyway. So if you come in pre-injured,
no,
you're gonna have to be subbed out, on the 60-minute mark or something.
It was a brave choice. It was a brave choice of him. I'll say that much.
Yep.
He revealed that to us when he sat down at the table. Like, don't get me to laugh too hard. Like, why are you here?
Yeah.
Stop.
I think he was already in pain 30 seconds after having let us know that.
Probably.
Yeah.
But no, it's a lot of fun, and I can fully recommend that. And I will definitely be trying to pick up a physical copy of that game, because I can see that working really well around a table, and seeing the smiles, and maybe having the people read their own prompts. Who knows? But I definitely want that game. Will recommend. And there are other board games that I really want to play at some point, so who knows. Good community evenings out of these things, definitely. Speaking of good community evenings, with the latest iteration of No Man's Sky, have they made it easier to group up?
So yes, I think generally the game has made progress in that regard. However, the caveats are that there's still some desync I think they've done a hot fix for a couple of things since, but I need to read the patch notes. One of the things was you get your party members get a different color, so like blue, yellow, whatever. And for those that can see the colors clearly, you can see where your sort of ally, where your group members are, because multiplayer in that game is like it's on, so you see everyone who's on, like everyone, or it's off. There's no like I just want to see my group of friends or whatever. So it's slightly better as in it worked consistently. We didn't find ourselves having to break and recreate the group like many times. We did a couple of times just to like test things and that, until we figured out that getting into the vehicle and getting out again was turning the color on and off. So one of the little bugbears was that if you get in the vehicle, your symbol goes white, and everyone else in the game, like everyone, has a white diamond symbol. So you can't tell where your body is and whether you're driving towards them or away from them or whatever anymore. So the workaround for Lima and I was just to hop out of the vehicle, and then you'd see the colored symbol and be like, oh, right, you're over there.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So it did. The good news was it's definitely gotten more stable in that in the past years in updates, we've had to like break the group and recreate the group like dozens of times during a multi-hour session. So that seems to have gone away. We were also doing an expedition which had us only on one planet. So that probably helped to some degree, not so much jumping between systems and more opportunities for desync, I guess. The good thing is, like I said, it did seem to work fairly consistently, and it was easy to connect up to each other, and it bodes well for Light No Fire, which is where a lot of the new tech hopefully is being kind of borrowed from, or will be a prototype of what we see in that game when that eventually arrives.
I was just gonna say, I really hope that they're learning a lot from this, because one thing I would generally want from No Man's Sky is like I played through the story like way back when it first came out, and was kind of like, okay, but like I know they've been doing a lot of work, but I notice with myself more and more what I want is to have something to call home base, where I go out into the stars, bring back materials for something, and then we do some work on the planet, build a base or a new vehicle or whatever. And especially now with the latest expedition, where you're literally going around picking up space trash to get rid of it. It's like it emphasizes that kind of stuff to do on the same planet you're at, but it needs you to have a large planet. It needs you to have enough to do, and I'm slightly holding off because of kind of seeing the not limited scope, that's the wrong word, but the very narrow idea of this, and just how much it differs from the normal thing of having your fleet and jumping around. For instance, if I could have my fleet with a Corvette and everything, and then launch this landing vehicle or whatever down, and then use it in a good way in a mobile base or something that is quickly set up, then I think that could be cool. But it needs to be almost Moria level of put down, pick up kind of thing, or even Enshrouded, where you go, you claim something, you put down whatever it is you need to get things out of the resources out, or build a little base, and then you leave.
Yeah,
like it needs to be that, but I'm not sure if that's going to be possible in No Man's Sky.
Yeah, I think it's possible, and I think also the whole like putting things down, picking them up again, or whatever, moving your base afterwards. It's not to the level of like Blueprint or whatever, like the things they've brought in June, but it's definitely fairly easy. You just go there, like you could either leave it there and just build another one somewhere else, because you have things like the in-game teleporters and stuff where you can teleport up to your ship's fleet, capital ship, or you can teleport to another base somewhere completely in another, star system or whatever. So I think all of those ingredients are there, and what they've been doing is like polishing and refining those, and then adding these little bits of flair and immersion. I feel like that's something that in No Man's Sky, for me anyway, always struggled with, is it didn't feel immersive enough, because it's very arcadey, it's very bright colors, and alien in a good way if that's what you're looking for. But when I try to really immerse myself in that world, I struggled a bit with it. But the last few updates have really they've done overhauls to some of the graphics. They've brought in making your own corvettes and stuff to go with your fleet or to be your general fly around, and the way that works on a system with hovering and things like landing on water. They've got the whole underwater system and base building that they've added in. Won't be everybody's cup of tea, obviously, but I think that, and now with the garbage thing and that, we've got these fixed locations to go to and actually like undertake specific tasks and then fall back from or whatever. I think it's getting closer and closer to something like that. And I suppose for me, the big question is, I always dip into it, have good fun for 3 or 4 days, and then I'm like, okay, that was cool. Go away, make another update. I'll come back and have another look at it, in 6 months kind of thing. If it was going to be something like, oh, let's play this on Sunday for like a couple of months with the group and see how far we get, I think we would all have a lot of fun with it. But I think there would probably be enough little hurdles and things that don't quite work the way we want them to, where we'd be like, oh, it's so close, it's nearly. And then the question is, okay, is Light No Fire going to be the thing? And that ties that all together much better, because you're going to be on one planet, you're going to, and it's going to be a huge Earth's scale kind of thing. So yeah, and obviously built from the ground up using what they've learned for these 10 or 12 years or whatever. So it's going to be, yeah, really interesting to see where that goes. And No Man's Sky, I think it's more like, it was good fun, and Lima and I think we had a good time and enjoyed doing the expedition together, and it most of it worked pretty smoothly. And it's like, okay, that was a good time, but that was like a Sunday.
Yeah.
And maybe you could do that once or twice, and then you'd be like, okay, cool, now let's play the next game kind of thing. And that's kind of always how No Man's Sky has been for me. But there are, millions and millions of people out there that play it much more in depth and have, huge fleets and billions of credits and all the rest of it. And it's never quite hooked me that deeply, but I can see why people get into it.
Oh yeah, definitely. And like, there's a lot of really cool builds out there where people are doing something really exciting with some of these Corvette builds, and just really creating absolutely amazing ships. And I won't lie, I kind of like, every time I see one of those videos, it's like, ooh, should I? But then I'm like, I might as well just reinstall Starfield and actually play the shipbuilding there, because that was fun. But yeah, No Man's Sky. They keep giving us updates, and like we've said a while back, we forgive you. It's fine. You can fully focus on Light No Fire now. That's we're okay with that. Like, this is. But kudos to them that they keep bringing out free updates and good updates too.
Yeah, I think it's the quality as well. Like, they always had the free updates, but the quality of the last few, with the Corvette edition and the and this one, and some of the building stuff and the outposts with your NPCs and everything. That's like it. They're really big, in-depth things. With the expeditions as like a nice little bonus on top. So it's very impressive to see their level of commitment to this.
Oh yeah, no, I'm super impressed, So thank you, hello, for doing that for us. Something very different from No Man's Sky is something that I've recently been touching on and trying to learn. That I've said for a while that I wanted to learn, but it's been I don't know. It's been a journey trying to get into it. Is Vintage Story. And in Vintage Story, for those of you who play it, will know that it doesn't hold your hand at all. Mm-hmm. It gives you a great tool to learn things through the little manual, where you can pretty much look up everything, but it doesn't hold your hand. And I think in the start, where I'm kind of struggling a bit with it, is the pacing of things. Because I'm used to the thought of how the pacing is in, for instance, Minecraft. A direct comparison here. Because Vintage Story started as a Minecraft mod, but since evolved into its own thing. And I'm still in the learning stages of things, but I guess it's slightly due to me being completely new in it, that the whole idea of what to look for, how to find it, where to find it, like all of these little things for how to make storage, how to make extra storage for your carrying capacity, how to make the tools. Like there's a lot of extra steps added in Vintage Story as opposed to Minecraft. Mm-hmm. That being said, once you start getting into the rhythm of looking for this handbook, knowing that the steps are all in there, mm-hmm. that's when things start picking up. But it's still the idea of, okay, right now I have 4 pit kilns going, firing different molds and such for me. While that's mm-hmm. going, I'll go explore. Mm-hmm. Like the idea of using that time to go exploring, like that's one of the bigger things I can say that it's slightly hard for me to do. But mm-hmm. I'm trying to get into it. I'm trying to get used to it. But I think the first... My first and main criticism is that this starting tutorial, it stops too quickly. Because it takes you to a certain place, but it stops before it gives you the knowledge and know-how of how to make metal tools in a good way. And I think with the importance of those metal tools, it needs to take you just past making your first copper pickaxe, for instance. Mm-hmm. Or the importance of noting where you find those copper nuggets, or like stuff like this. Mm-hmm. That's where it needs to take you, and then it can let you go, because that's when you have what I feel is the base knowledge needed. And this is as a completely new player coming in, but with previous knowledge of Minecraft and other things. So, yeah, I'm super excited to keep on learning though, mm-hmm. and I have made it to a stage where I have now made a copper pickaxe and copper anvil and a few other things, so that it's I have some basic copper tools. Mm-hmm. but but yeah, there's still a little bit of, it needs a bit more push this way. How does that compare to your first introduction to Vintage Story?
Yeah, I think very similar. It was, as you said, it kind of throws you in and says, "Good luck, have fun, don't die," to quote the movie title.
Yeah.
And I quite enjoy that, but it's also when you first get into it, very overwhelming. You're like, okay, so what happens now? I just all my food's gone rotten
Yep.
and it's cold and I'm dead. So, on the one hand, it's good because then you're challenged. I suppose, but yeah, I agree with you in terms. I felt pretty much the same way with the smelting and everything, and just even getting started with a couple of, like, if it was like, this is how you do, some of the basic pottery, and this is how you would make some molds, and if you make those molds, you can, I can't remember the word now, but you can get those properly finished, and then you can make your first pickaxe, and then there you go. Now, good luck finding the resources you need. Here's a hint. You maybe want to look over here or whatever, that kind of thing. So I agree. I think it's designed and been retained in that way to keep it, kind of more hardcore. Possibly also as a differentiator from other games that kind of lead you a little bit more early on. But yeah, I don't know if it necessarily has to be that harsh. I suppose it's one of those where they rely on people creating guides and stuff like that. And, the guidebook is there as well. But I think you're right in that there's some longer articles in the beginning and you can click through some of the things. And then once you've read 4 or 5 articles, it's like, yeah, off you go. You can now survive. And it's like, can I though? Maybe, maybe not. And there's quite a few rude awakenings depending on how you set your world up to play. But if you're playing like vanilla or whatever, just to get a feel for it, yeah, it's going to be a bit rough. Yeah, but the flip side is that you do get more of a sense of accomplishment maybe when you're surviving longer and becoming a little bit more capable and turning into thriving. It is a nice rewarding experience because you're like, oh wow, do you remember when we spawned in and we were naked and we picked up a piece of flint off the ground and it was like, oh. And now look at me in my full armor and with a shield and sword and whatever, eating bear ribs for breakfast or something. So yeah, I think the reward is there. It's just the steep curve at the beginning. But that's where a lot of the quality of life and the modding community and everything comes into it as well. So we're seeing that obviously with this kind of survival games a lot more and more, I think, where the mods really do make a big difference. And then, things eventually get woven into the base game if they're so inclined.
I really want to build something big. Whenever I touch a game like this, it's like, okay, I want to build like the Kings of Argonath or Minas Tirith or something ginormous, where once you walk up to it and you see it, you're like, whoa, holy balls. And in the reason, like one of the things that I want to do with Vintage Story is, like I'll gladly turn the monsters passive so that they don't attack. Like they'll fight back, but they won't attack. That's something I've done, but the survival elements are still on. Like you still need to make food. You still need to make sure that you stay warm, and you need the tools in order to find all the materials. Like I want to set up a big build like that, where there's a few people working together to chisel out these things and put them together in a way where it just really gets to shine. So next big step for me, now that I have metal tools and I have an understanding of getting the very basics done, is starting to understand chiseling. So I'm looking forward to that, to kind of see, okay, what can I actually create vanilla, and what like how can I then expand on this through mods? And I mean, with the active modding community that both Minecraft and Vintage Story and other games like this have, there's like I've already understood just how big the potential is. Like I think there's one called expanded chiseling or advanced chiseling or something, which makes the voxels even more fine grain. So you could almost make a sphere out of the normal 64 by 64 block, and I think that's really cool. So I'm looking forward to playing around with that more. Any tips for a new Vintage Story player that is currently on vanilla and wants to dive into learning some of these things? Do you have any tips at all?
My main tip, let us know, listeners, what tips you would give, because I don't want to. I've played quite a bit of it now, so my biggest tip would be embrace the mods. You don't need millions of them, but there's a few that are like they just change it up with that sort of little quality of life tweak, and some flavor stuff, and you're like, okay, now it feels like complete or what I want. But you don't need it, and arguably the game's more challenging vanilla. But I would say that the modding community is one of those like super passionate, super like immersive, and when stuff comes out, it's like, okay, you can see why they did this. This is a nice little tweak. So I would that would be my one like generic tip, so that people can come up with something more specific in the comments.
Let us know if you play Vintage Story. What is some of your favorite mods or things to do in the game, and how would you feel about a build server, a community build server that is aimed to build something big and magnificent? Let me know. But while we're sticking to the voxels, Hytale, you've been playing more of that.
Yep.
What's the continued verdict on it?
So I've just thoroughly enjoyed it. It's a real, like, much simpler game. It's only got adventure and creative modes at the moment. Or not adventure. I'm saying the wrong name. I can't remember the exact name of it. But anyway, it just has a more simplified, like they don't have all the story elements fully fleshed out and implemented yet, but that's work in progress. They did, however, just update release 3, and they're actively working on update 4. And yeah, I'm glad that it stood up to what I was anticipating from it, because there was a lot of hype around it, and I try to avoid those kind of things. Although, you know, even today there's like 2 more games that are just like, oh my god. It is just really like positive experience. It's super colorful, but without being over the top from my point of view. Where Minecraft, I was never quite sure with Minecraft, one, because it is super blocky. There's probably all sorts of mods and shaders you can get for it, but anyway, generally, but it also, like, it felt a little bit over the top with some of the colors, and like it looked very like arcadey style or whatever to me, you know, just how it came across to me. And Hytale was just took a little bit of the edges off, a little bit rounded out a few things and a few different animations, and that made it feel a little slightly more immersive in a way, like drew me in more. It's also a game that is just where Vintage Story is, if you want to embrace that survival challenge and the real like hurdles to overcome, that's cool, but it's quite punishing in that way, because it's all about, okay, how can I survive these challenges and these kind of debuffs I'm under, and starvation and all that kind of stuff. Whereas Hytale is like, okay, we're not going to debuff you at all, so fundamentals, you're just going to survive. You'll be okay, but you can still be eaten by a bear or whatever. So watch out. And then what it does is it rewards you for like, well, if you cook yourself some, you know, you can find some berries, cool, off you go. But if you make a meal, like a salad with some fruit in it or whatever, you'll get an additional buff from it. You'll get a little bit more health and be able to take the adventure a little bit further, that kind of thing, or survive the bear attack, that sort of. So it's a game based on go out, explore, adventure, build some stuff, do all the things that you would do in this kind of world, but you don't have to worry about starving to death. Or getting horribly punished and debuffed for things. So you can still get punished in the way of like losing your gear, and like the default is you lose a bit of your percentage RNG of your backpack and that kind of thing, but you can have it drop everything and have to do corpse runs, which I'm never really a big fan of in games. Or you can have it drop nothing and be very much more gentle. So the multiplayer's worked really well. There's no like desync or anything like that. The server that I'm running is like super easy to set up. The mods on Cursed Forge, although I'm not really actually at the latest update yesterday, then they stopped working some of them, so I have gone back to kind of vanilla experience. It's just a really fun time, and it vibes really well with viewers as well. Lots of people like to turn up and just chill out and enjoy the experience, so it's very watchable, I find. The simplest thing I can say about Hytale is it's just puts like a smile on my face. It makes me feel like, cool, we're just going to go and have some fun and see what happens. And you get all your funny moments of accidentally falling in lava or whatever, but you can just dust yourself off and be like, well, that sucked. Let's go back over there and see if we can make that jump, or beat up that skeleton or whatever it was. So and it's got like a mixture of sort of mystical and natural enemies and elements. They've done a really good job with things like lighting and shading. There's so many different flowers and blocks and whatever that can give off some luminescence and things. It's just a real joy to play, and it's one of those that as well, because there's no punishment and time passage isn't really a thing at this point, at least not in this mode, where it's like, okay, you wait half an hour for your crops to grow and stuff like that, but there's no decaying, things aren't dying off or whatever, and there is a day-night cycle, sort of illusion if you will, but it's not like, oh, I can't play this for a week because I've got something else has come up or whatever. There's no stress with it, and next time you log on, everything is just how you left it. And so from that point of view, it's nice because you can just jump in and out of it, and it's like you take 3 minutes, you remember the controls, and you're like, all right, off we go. Let's go adventuring. Let's go over here. Or, oh, look, there's a bird we haven't seen before, and that kind of thing. So I think as well that it's got, those different elements from, fishing and swimming and diving and going in caves and enemies just spawning in left, right, and center and stuff like that. So you can quickly get yourself in trouble in dangerous areas, but you kind of know, you're like, okay, we're going into an area that's going to be dangerous. So it doesn't set you up too much to fail. It sets you up to give you a challenge, but it says, well, if you feel up for that, do it at your own risk. And if you don't feel up to it, well, just run away. You're fine. So it's been a really positive experience. You can tell though that it's like, as an early access game, it's so like super polished, and they're getting all the fundamentals right. So it doesn't feel like an early access game. It feels like a really solid foundation, and they're just building up on it block by block, and they're going to end up with like the pyramids of Giza or something, because it's just the scale and the potential is epic level. But the fundamentals are all there, and everything just works. If you play it every day, you probably, after a week, you'd be like, okay, I've done that now. I've done it all, not in a bad way. You'll walk away with a smile on your face, and you'll be like, okay, let's see what they cook up next, kind of thing. Or you start a fresh world again with a different seed, or you have a friends group that you invite people in and play together, that kind of thing. So it's got, it seems superbly stable and solid, and at least when we've had 3 or 4 people playing online, it's been smooth as butter. So it was a lot of hype with it. I was very wary of. If you're looking for a full story and you're looking for, 2 months worth of solid playing it or something like that, you're not going to find that there yet, unless you really like building or you really like, digging holes or just running around in caves killing skeletons and stuff like that. But there are more challenging bosses. But actually, with update 3 that dropped yesterday, I believe they're working on some dungeon stuff or like, different kinds of mobs and NPC behaviors and stuff like that. So it's coming.
So
Yeah.
if we set up a Venn diagram of games here, where Minecraft is pretty much the epitome of this is the game where like you can do whatever you want. Like it's only the limit of your imagination, pretty much. And then you have the what other games would we put in here? Because Hytale gives you an open world to play in and do things in, but it has more hitches. It has more hooks for you to hook onto. So what are the other games in this Venn diagram?
So, like if I look at it, do we just talk about the 3 block games that we're discussing? If
No,
you've got
not
Minecraft,
necessarily,
yeah, yeah,
but like it would be natural to bring those in, but yeah.
yeah.
But
No, I'm just saying for as a
one corner
starting point.
is definitely
Yeah,
Minecraft.
y-
It
yeah,
is what's kicked all of this off after all. So
yeah,
yeah.
exactly. So like, but just as a simple logical step, you got Minecraft where you can kind of do everything and massively mod it and all the rest of it, and it's like the grandfather of it all or whatever. Then you've got Vintage Story, which is like you can do a lot of that stuff if you can survive long enough.
Mm.
Go. And then you've got Hytale, which is like you're not going to die, but if you go out exploring, it's going to be more challenging and tricky, but also highly rewarding for you. So it feels like Minecraft is like I can do everything. I've never played Minecraft, but I'm aware enough of it. It feels like you can kind of do everything. Plus, it's been around for so long that there's so many mods for it and all the rest of it that you can just really bolt anything into it.
Mm.
Vintage Story is but I'd like to do that, but I'd like to make my life a lot harder and like really have a survival challenge kind of thing. So you've got Vintage Story for that element, and then Hytale is like the younger brother, the young upstart kind of thing that is like, you don't want to be dying every 5 minutes unless you've chosen to go off on an adventure. So it's like what is it? I'm trying to think of it a little bit like the Hobbits or something. It's like the two Merry and Pippin kind of thing. It's like let's go off there and see what happens. We'll go and steal from the farmer's fields or whatever. What could possibly go wrong? So Hytale's your hijinks kind of adventurous, accidentally getting yourself into trouble kind of little younger brother kind of thing. Minecraft is the little bit more sensible, but I can do everything. I've mastered this. So you're kind of middle-aged. I've got everything. And Vintage Story is like your wizened, slightly downtrodden uncle who's like, life's been rough to me. Kind of thing. But I've learned, that's taught me how to survive, kind of thing to it. That's kind of where I would start with it. So it's kind of like I feel like, and again, I'm not trying to. I'm not negative in any way about Minecraft because I've just literally never played it. Hytale for me is like, hey, you want to go off on an adventure? Let's go. Kind of reminds me of like a friendly NPC in one of those Viva La Dirt League videos or something. Hey, let's go. Let's go, adventurer.
So
Yeah.
and the crafting systems like this is
Mhm.
this is where we get into um the more nitty gritty of it because Minecraft has predefined like base game we're talking now. They have predefined recipes and stuff. So, 2 iron bars and a stick is a sword. or two
Mm-hmm.
sticks and an iron bar is an iron shovel. That sort of
Mm-hmm.
stuff. Whereas Vintage Story takes you on a bit of a journey of making the mold, smelting the iron or the copper or whatever, and then pouring it into the mold and making sure that it tempers and everything before you
Mm-hmm.
can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, Minecraft pretty much, or at least last I played, unless you mod in a lot of things, it doesn't really have like a rooftop piece or such. So you'll have to get creative with how you make your
Mm-hmm.
roofs and such. A lot of people place stair bits because it looks like a slanted roof and so on.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I've seen some of the bits you can craft in Hytale. I haven't really gotten to that part in Vintage Story, but I've seen some of the things you can do there, and it
Mm-hmm.
seems Hytale is a bit of a mix between Vintage Story and Minecraft in that bit because it has predefined things,
Mm-hmm.
but
Yeah.
they're a bit more intricate.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. So you have like different resources that are effective, like different tiers, like softwood, hardwood, and so on and so forth, and different kinds of stone. So they dictate like the colorations that you get out of the colors that you get out of the blocks. Also, the types of blocks is sort of loosely coupled with the tier, as it were, of the material itself, the raw material. And then there's also a two-step tiering to some of the materials where you've got a basic block you can make out of it, and then if you take that basic block back to a builder's bench, it can be then processed further into something else like a fancy looking pillar and this kind
Mm.
of thing. Not for, and some blocks do that and some don't. So there's an element of excitement and discovery of like, oh, I wonder what this tree gives us. And say, oh, it gives us crude stuff. It's rubbish, kind of, and you just learn over time what things do. It doesn't have the depth of crafting system of Vintage Story at all. So it's very, very shallow. That's one of the shallowest elements of it at the moment. That said, there's still like effectively whatever 100 different kind of blocks, roof blocks, all fencing, pillars,
Mm.
you name it, and as well as full and half blocks and all that kind of thing. So all of the core stuff is there in quite a bit of abundance without having to have any mods installed. And one of the really neat things, which is more of a mechanic how you do things in the game, they have a ghost system, which I wish for the life of me that Vintage Story could have this. You can change the settings so it shows a ghost outline for every single block or a decor piece that you're going to put down, like candle, whatever.
Oh,
So it shows it before you put it down.
right.
And what it does, especially with the roofing pieces, because roofs are typically the hardest thing to build and get right, is you can see a ghost of it, and then you can press like the R key to rotate, and it'll cycle through not just the positions but the different types of block. So if you're trying to make like a corner inversion on a roof to connect up to another part, you can just literally press R a couple of times to cycle through the different pieces and the different positions you want them in. And it's like, oh, there you go, third press. That's the block I'm looking for. Thanks very much. And you can see it as a ghost before you place it. It has a little bit of the Vintage Story where if you're looking like the upper part of the block or the lower part of the block, it will behave and give you different variants to look at. Because it's like, well, if you're at the upper part, that piece wouldn't make sense. So I won't offer that to you in the Ghost. But if you look at the lower part, okay, it makes sense. But it's simpler than Vintage Story because Vintage Story has like about 69 different sides you can look at and place things
Yeah.
differently.
Yeah.
So with Vintage Story, it's more like you craft a bunch of those blocks beforehand and then go and put them down, hopefully in the right position. And if not, you've got to chop them out again. Or in some of the pieces, you can use a wrench on and turn them, but not on roof blocks. So that's, roofs are the worst bit to get right. And then the tool you've got in Vintage Story to use the wrench to change it, you can't even use that on a roof piece. It's like, why do you do this to me as a builder? So I'm a big fan of Hytale system because they just have integrated this excellent ghost system and so you can just see what you're doing before you place the block down. And if not, okay, you smack it out and you get the whole block back, easy peasy, you know. So that's something that I like about it. But in terms of the other elements of the crafting system, it's fairly shallow. It's more of the recipes are pre-given. You don't do dragging blocks around your pocket or anything like that. There's none of that grid system. It's more, this is the recipe for a sword. So if you've got the twigs and you've got the, piece of metal or whatever, hey presto, you can craft a sword. And then they have different benches for things. So it's like an anvil, a forge, an armorer's desk, that kind of thing, weaponsmith's desk,
Right.
and you just go there, and then all the boxes are magic boxes. So within, I think it's 14 blocks horizontally and 6 blocks vertically, it can reach all of those boxes and just pull from them on the benches, which is pretty cool.
Oh, that's a nice system. I like that.
Yeah.
Very good. Okay. Well, I mean, I'm excited to see where they go in the future in regards to more story to make this what should we say, a more a world that's less set on make your own adventure, but more about let's allow you a large sandbox that also has a really cool story.
Yeah, exactly. If you're looking for a story mode and lore that's going to draw you in and you want to follow that, and all the other stuff just comes along in the background as you go forward through the story, then Hytale is not there for you. If you're more into pure sandbox and just make whatever the heck you want, or get a group of friends and say, let's make this village together and see where it goes and play some characters or whatever, I think it's as good as any of them. It particularly, again, the fact that you're not being punished for not having done a thing it makes it a more relaxing experience.
Well, I'm gonna be very curious to see where this is going and where it's ending up. But yeah, let's keep our eyes on Hytale. And well, let's see if it takes me as long to play that as it took me to actually start playing Skyrim. Because I recently started my first proper story playthrough of Skyrim. I've messed about in it. I've had fun with mods. I've done a few things here and there with trying to get a multiplayer thing going and so on, but never actually played the story, which I'm doing now. Like complete save wipe. I've removed all my saves, removed all my information and everything, and I'm treating this as if I've never touched the game. Almost, I'm trying to at least. And I have to say I had to give myself some quality of life mods. But I'm doing that only because I know how some of the things work in Bethesda games. I played Starfield for a long time without any mods, and was like, yeah, no, it needs to be better, because for all the really good stuff Bethesda does, there's a couple of things they need to learn, and that is about menu manipulation. And making it clearer what's yours, what am I looking at, and so on, so you don't end up buying 17 cheese wheels when you try to sell them. Oddly specific example, I know. But I will say I'm having a lot of fun. I am of course doing the classic sneaky with a bow. Mostly because it's a playstyle that fits me, but also it's a playstyle that really fits Bethesda games. So sneaky ranged, where you crit and you steal and it's really efficient. Uh, but one thing that I always love with Bethesda games is you need to know who you can mess with and who you can't mess with. Because if you don't, you are going to end up in the Skyrim space program. And that's when you mess with a mammoth or a giant too soon.
Mm-hmm.
You're also going to end up being barbecue and have to run away from certain dragons because you start messing with them too soon.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like it, but when you're a lonely, sneaky orc that's trying to just sneak past a house and get up over a mountain to have a shortcut, hearing that roar up in the sky is like, geez, no, stop, go away. And then you're like, okay, I'm just gonna keep on sneaking. And then suddenly there's saber cats, there's dragons, there's more saber cats, and there's mammoths, and you're just running away going, no. And then it's like, okay, fine, I won't go that way then.
Yeah.
I'll go a massive detour.
Yep.
But I'm liking it. How much Skyrim did you play?
I think we did like 2 or 3 sessions, and the problem I had was I tried really hard. Still working on that, but I want to like have a schedule that's like, okay, we're gonna have a go at this for like 2 to 4 weeks or something. You know, I pick a game and say, right, you know, on these days or this week's we're gonna do this and just see how far we get. The first impression and playing through, it was a lot of fun. A lot, obviously, I think it was like the 12-year anniversary or something of it when I started.
Yeah.
So I think that was about a year or so ago. I can't remember exactly when, but I was really enjoying it. And then I had exactly the experiences you just described, which was like, oh, saber cat. All right, well, I'll just oh, I'm dead.
Yep.
You know, I'll just hold my shield. Oh, no.
Nope.
That's not a thing.
Yep.
So, bad kitty. It was, yeah, I was playing, I think it was like a Khajiit kind of character. I really enjoyed it. We were fishing on a little waterfall. That was super fun, just catching fish with the claws. And I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. I think I got like, I don't know, overwhelmed isn't really the right word, but it dawned on me after 2 or 3 sessions with everything else building up a backlog around me of like, you got to play this has just come out, this has got a demo, and I was just really in a bit of a cycle of like, oh, I gotta look at everything. I kind of got myself mentally in boxed myself in where it's like, this thing is huge. Like,
Yeah.
I thought I was following the main story because everyone's like, basically there's 10,000 side quests and that is Skyrim. And I was like, haha, yeah, very funny because I side quest all the time. But I thought I was following the main story, and I ended up on a boat to another island that was a completely different map.
Yeah.
And I was doing like a main line of that, but that was just a side quest. And I was like, what do you mean that's a side quest? Like, you're not even on the main quest anymore. I'm like, yes, I am. Look at the voice acting. Look at the depth of the story. And there's so much going. And they're like, no, you're on a complete. I was like, how come I can't see that other place I need to get to? And they're like, because you've loaded onto a different map. And I'm like, what are you even talking? You know, like I was so engrossed in the thing itself that I hadn't even cognitively recognized where the hell I was and what story I was on. So I kind of took a step back and I was like, you know, I can't remember what it was, but you know, there's a few like top 10 games that I usually play, and if they have like a big release or a big RP server comes up or whatever, I don't remember what it was, but something was just like, oh, I've got to go towards that big beaming light over there. So I was like, I can't keep, you know, I can't stick to this routine or whatever. I tried to do it as like Skyrim Saturdays or something, but Saturday and Sunday are like my 2, you know, big days. Friday's always a constant. And then Wednesday and Thursday is where I can kind of throw things in the mix and say, well, you know, hopefully this will be fun for me and fun for everyone watching. But, you know, so I've got to pay a little bit more attention to like, you know, Saturday and Sunday. And I was like, okay, there's this really big thing that's just dropped that I really want to do. And I haven't played this for 12 years and I'm really enjoying it, but doesn't really matter if it waits another year or whatever. So it kind of just got put back on the shelf. And now you've started playing it, and I'm like, man, I really wanted to have a proper go at that. And yeah, it just didn't work out. But it is absolutely epic. I think what it was is I just realized this is so big and so good. There's a reason why it's held in such high regard. I was like, I really want to do this justice. You know, I don't want to just like squeeze in like, let's do 2 hours of Skyrim, and because I'll forget half of what I was doing a week later or whatever. And I don't want to do that with this game because it feels too good.
So games like Skyrim, Starfield, Fallout, Pathfinder Kingmaker, the Rogue Trader, like all of these enormous, for lack of a better word, epics. You know, there's a giant story being told.
Mm-hmm.
All of these, they require a bit of dedication to go through them. Mm-hmm. And I've noticed that myself. Like when I was playing Starfield, there was so much going on and so much potential for the world that I needed to actively remind myself to stay on like the main quest and so on. And this is when I think I remember seeing you play Skyrim, and I was like, you gotta be careful because Skyrim never runs out of side quests.
Mm-hmm.
That is literally one of the things Skyrim does. It doesn't it generates side quests for you.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can just keep going and going and going and going. And if you're not aware of that, when you set off, it can be it can be so overwhelming.
Mm-hmm.
And when you already have a huge main story that already takes you on this big adventure, like they're massive games.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, no, I absolutely love Bethesda for that. They do well with that sort of thing. So
yeah,
my hat is off to them. That completely.
Yeah. I guess where
yeah.
it ended up for me with Skyrim was exactly to your points, right? I like when I think about it now, it's one of those where I look at my list and I'm like, oh man, I'm never gonna get to play that game. Because I think the way I could do Skyrim, the way I would want to do Skyrim, is I would say, and we're going to do this with Red Dead, so it's going to be a good test for me in March. And they've got a couple of things I need to squeeze in March already, so it's going to be hard, really hard. But I'm going to try really hard. Funnily enough, I wanted to do it in Feb, and that didn't work out. I'm going to try really hard. We're going to play Red Dead Redemption 2, my favorite sort of story game ever. We're going to play through the whole story again, and so I'm going to just do that. Obviously, ships is always there, so I've got 3 days of my 5. But the way I like my ideal, and I wouldn't want to do this, so I'm probably not going to do it. But the way I would want to do Skyrim and Red Dead and things like that is, right, guys, this month we're playing this game. We've got the usual slots, but even the Sunday slot, for example, I'd be like Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, Sunday, bang, go. And we'll be in this for 4 weeks, and we'll see what happens at the end of it. Hopefully we'll have a glorious time and finish the main story at least, you know?
Yeah.
So but that means, what does that mean? I can't look at any demos coming up. I can't look at little updates like No Man's Sky drops an update and I'm like, oh man, you know, want to look at that or something. Or Foxhole's got a war going on for a month. Well, goodbye Foxhole, you know, and what about like Sundays? I really enjoy our, you know, when we get the group together. I know it doesn't always work out with scheduling and whatever, but you know, that means none of that going on because literally these particular games are so big and such high quality that it's like you're going to do that or not. You know, I'm very all or nothing with the way my mind works, and you know, my short-term memory issues as well. It's easier for me because then I can just do, okay, we did this a couple of days back. I remember that character kind of thing. But you see what I mean? It's like such a big sacrifice to say, well, I can't do anything else. I'm just doing this. So I'm gonna try it with Red Dead Redemption, where I do Wednesday, Thursday, Saturday, and then we'll see what Friday will be ships, and then Sunday we'll just see what happens. But I know in my heart of hearts, I'm like, I love that game so much that I just want to do like every day. We just stream right the way through. Like, and maybe what I'll do is I might even do like a Friday evening little bit just to stay in that mood, in that spirit. So do like a Wednesday, Thursday, Friday evening for like 1 or 2 hours to not wear myself out, and then Saturday, and then that will be, because that's most of my game time. If I'm not doing that, then I'm doing things like recording and editing stuff and putting things on YouTube and things like that. So it's not, I don't have the sort of health and the energy levels where I can I can just, carry on playing this and do a 12-hour stream or play a few hours offline to keep in the spirit of it, whatever. I can't. So mostly my stream time that's my game time.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tricky.
It is. It's very tricky. And it's one of those stories where a lot of us will want to do it justice. Skyrim, Red Dead, other large games like this, we want to do them justice because as much as there's a lot of people out there that go like, "Oh, games aren't art," I'm gonna say, "Fuck you." If you know how many hours have been poured into Red Dead and all of these others, and seen the way people have written the story, then it most certainly is. And it's one of the more comprehensive pieces of art that's out there too.
Yep.
Absolutely 100%. I will make someone die on this hill. But it's not me. I'll tell you that much. Speaking of dying on a hill, how's the war in Foxhole going?
Nice segue there.
Thank you.
That one.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah.
We talked in the editorial meeting yesterday about segues and whether we need them and whether they naturally happen. Yeah. And I said, don't worry about it because they'll happen anyway. And there you go, dying on a hill. Foxhole Airborne update is just epic. It's fantastic. It's brought some, Foxhole jank a little bit with it in a few little cases, but they've done a couple of hot fixes and that. Yeah, exactly, right. But you have an MMO with like 10 to 20,000 people playing it at peaks, right? And usually 5 to 6,000 people playing it like every day at any time of the day. It's insane. And the Airborne, I looked a little bit at it in the dev branch just to get a feel for it beforehand, and I was like, oh my god, this is a real game changer. And now we're playing it on the real war. Apart from the fact that the scout planes are really easy and cheap to make, that's cool. And you can have some fun with it really early on in the war. That was great, but everything else is a lot more expensive and a lot more hassle. So we're going through the process of trying to make the next, the bigger planes and whatnot. More on that later but the just being able to experience, they've already done a phenomenal job going from like infantry to then vehicles and tanks and all that kind of thing, and then they brought in the naval combat, which went through all of its ups and downs and everything, but was overall just fantastic, I think. And then to bring in the airborne, which was everybody like had the dream of like maybe they'd have planes in this, but how, with the isometric view and all the rest of it. And it's like there are bits of it, as I said, like when you're turning in dogfights and the camera's zooming in and out and you're or the plane flies across your screen and stuff like that, where it's like, okay, this is awkward. It's not super jank, but it's a bit like, okay, you have to just suspend your disbelief for a little bit and go, okay, this is it kind of feels immersive and like this is kind of how it would be happening, having the height, having the energy, turning and trying to get the advantage in the dogfight or whatever, and you knowing when to fire at your enemy and when to hold your guns and that kind of thing. So there's a bits of it, but in that kind of isometric top-down view, it's it can be a bit awkward at times. That said, the way they've done it, where the camera zooms out a lot as you go up in your altitude, it really happens quite quickly and scales well. You can see a lot further and everything. And if you're like a passenger or bombardier or whatever, you get to call things out and say, oh, there's a plane over there to our port side or whatever, off the left wing. And yeah, I'm so ecstatic at how, like, for the first iteration of it going live.
No.
it's it's just epic. And the thing that gets me is when you up in a plane and you're just flying through a sector and you see, oh, there's a boat we can target, we can dive down, drop torpedoes on it. We've done a number of these torpedo runs on boats. We've done strafing runs. Edward loves killing medics. He goes absolutely. He sees a medic. He's like,
Geneva
yeah.
Convention
No,
called.
but
Hello?
yeah, it doesn't apply to Foxhole, man. I can tell you that.
Clearly.
He's like, yeah, he is absolutely massacring these. He looks for them because they've got a white helmet on. He's like, there's one, and he just goes for them and just, it's brutal. So, but more than that, just flying over a town, flying over the ocean, like doing missions like literally scouting, like let's see if there's a warden boat out here, and just going around and whatever until you have to go back to refuel, or occasional random strafing runs, attacking logistics trucks, and attacking people trying to work and repair a seaport or whatever, or bombing a tank. All these kinds of different roles and things going on. It's just hard to explain when you've played quite a bit of Foxhole. I've got about 700, 800 hours or whatever in it. When you've played that and it's been all like ground stuff, and then the naval stuff came in, and you're like, wow, this is really different. And then the airborne, it's like they just bolted a second game onto it and was like, now you can play up here in the air, and like all the people look like ants and everything. It's just incredible. And one of the key things I'm taking from it at the moment is the level of immersion and feeling like, if I've watched quite a lot of history documentaries and read a lot of books and everything. And when you kind of apply that real world knowledge and that historical, those experiences and everything, and then your own experiences of like being in planes and things, even if you're not in war, and then you sit yourself like in the game and you pilot one of these planes or whatever, it just brings the whole scale of Foxhole, like the sheer size of it, with hundreds of people in each hex, and then so many hexes and thousands of people on the server at the same time, all doing their own little thing somewhere in a corner. And then you go over the battlefront and everything, and you're strafing trenches and whatever. It's like you're playing a game, but at the same time you're in a World War II documentary, or maybe World War One, somewhere in between. It feels it's got that feeling to it of like, this is what it would look like flying through the clouds, looking down, like trying to pick out where's your target. Like, are we bombing that factory, or are we torpedoing that boat over there, or maybe we'll find a boat, maybe we won't. That kind of thing. And then the anti-aircraft guns start going, and I got hit by flak a couple of times the other day, and it was like, holy cow, that is terrifying. A big black with a burning puff in the middle of it and everything. And you're like, whoa, they actually have AA that actually works in this game. No offense, wargaming. But and it's kind of terrifying, and you're like, oh my god, it's all pixels and all the rest of it, but because we play it in an immersive, like, don't die if you can avoid it kind of thing. I've never experienced the only thing I've experienced that is on a kind of a parallel with it is War Thunder Simulation, when we did the big events with Wing.
Yeah.
And you get really into it, and you're paying attention to like your airspeed and your aileron setups and all this kind of stuff, and you're actually really in it, and you're nervous as heck because you're like, how do I land on an aircraft carrier with a B-25 or whatever? It's like, this isn't going to go well. And that's the only thing that is kind of on a that one's arguably more intense when you're in the moment. But the in the Foxhole context, it's like putting it, in my mind, it's putting it to that level of immersion. And then it's like all the ground stuff, like being a ground crew. We've had people like operating as ground crew, like refueling and rearming our planes when we land. Giving us directions, where's a safe place to go, getting air intel, this kind of thing. We haven't even got to the stage of the war where there's like radar stations and that kind of stuff actively in the game, but that's there already. It's just not unlocked. The technology isn't unlocked in the war yet. So the feeling, and then when you're running logi trucks and you're like, okay, I better bring some extra fuel down for the planes to refuel, or bring some more torpedoes down and put them in the nearby bunkers so that people can come and rearm. And then we had things with the scout planes where you can land and take off on like a road. So like we're parking near a bunker base, and people are driving past going, wait a minute, that's a plane. What are you doing? What are you guys doing here? And that's literally the stories from World War One and even World War II to a degree, where it's like, well, the plane's out of fuel, so they had to like land it there, hope that they didn't scuff the gear, and find some diesel and get back up in the air and get home or whatever, or get back in the fight. And it's so immersive in that way that even if you're doing ground stuff or naval, like running logistic, like convoy of supplies down to a seaport, you're thinking about all these dimensions, like, will a plane come in and attack me? Will I run into an enemy boat? Are the AA guns there where we're going to run a bombing raid, that kind of thing. And it's changed that adding that like third dimension, if you will, has just completely changed up the game. And along the fact that you could just be a scout and be like, so your scout plane, you don't have a radio on you, so you can't benefit from this info yourself, but you have a radio, like a little radar beacon that's just popping information back on the map. So anybody else on your team, like ground forces, are getting an update of like where you're flying over. So they're like, oh, we can see that they're amassing an enemy force and tanks over there to the left because we've got a scout plane overhead. So there's an incentive for the enemy to shoot you down and have AA emplacements. And then there's a benefit to your team passively that they're getting up-to-date intel because you're doing a scouting mission. And it's like literally, and parallel, like I'm watching World War I and II documentaries about where the scout planes went and how that intel like was changing completely the whole way of the war, you know? Because suddenly you didn't have to guess where the enemy might be anymore. You're like, they're over there.
Right.
Yeah. It's you can see how excited I am about it.
It definitely does
really epic.
change the way scouting is done. Because knowing how much of an issue continuous artillery shelling could be, and trying to find out where is the enemy artillery. Like you actually had to send someone out on foot, and then there'd be guards, there'd be guard towers, and it would be really hard to pinpoint. But now the added dimension of the scout plane allows you to get that information quicker, meaning counter battery quicker, potentially at least. But it's like there's a lot of stuff going on that needs thinking of, and it sounds like they've nailed it, which is cool. So I'm looking forward to hearing more stories from the digital front. Yeah,
it's epic, and we're gonna keep going for as long as I can. If other developers could stop dropping demos and sending me things that I like, win rolls and all these other things that I need to look at, I'm like, stop it. I'm trying to play Foxhole. Leave me alone for a month. Yeah.
Speaking of leaving us alone for a month, we're skipping straight over Know Your Role because we don't really have anything this month. And we've chosen not to speak too much about Eco because there's some stuff going on there where we're feeling kind of And other things that are making us feel is the fact that Discord are making some changes. Blutenum asked us this regarding the global change to people's accounts and to always regard an account as a teenager and blocking content and so on unless you identify, like Face ID and giving them the biometrics and so on. And we're not going to dive too deep into the fact that, like, very quickly we want to say we're not a fan of this because of knowing what goes on in the background. For those who are not aware, this is tied to Peter Thiel, who has Palantir and is heavily involved in selling and brokering of your data and utilizing it in less than savory manner. So this is high-level surveillance going on by people that we are not big fans of. The bigger, well, maybe not the bigger issue, but what we want to focus on with this conversation is the fact that it's disruptive for us as community builders. Because I feel it's fair to call ourselves community builders because we have built our own little digital communities through Twitch. one of the main tools of congregating and distributing information and making sure that people have a central hub to do things is through Discord. And it's been wonderful. It's been great to be able to have different tags and different channels so people can find what they want and not necessarily see everything else that they're not interested in. And it's been great.
Mm-hmm.
But suddenly people having to start to provide government ID in order to view links or even pictures or stuff that is being sent by us or others in the community that might be pertinent information or important information is so disruptive. And and what alternatives do we have? There are plenty of other platform alternatives, but we meet a big issue here where that's always the problem for any content creator. If you are on a certain platform, the biggest problem is converting your audience from that platform to a different one if you have to move. And for every jump you have to make to get through to a new place, it'll remove people. It'll remove people from your sphere. Meaning you suddenly don't have the reach, you suddenly don't have the feeling of community. So for us, this is it's just annoying. And that's not even touching on the more grave subject matter of it all. So I don't know how much more we can really answer on it, because I know it's something that works me up. I know it's something that works you up. So yeah, we're annoyed, to say the least, and I'm hoping that they'll see reason and not go through with this change, but it doesn't look good.
Yep. Yeah, there's a big backlash against it, so we'll see what that does. It's all going to be bundled together with them trying to get the biggest possible offering price when they go on the market, and they're looking for people to invest and buy. And some of the biggest value out there is obviously all of our data and the ability to sort of control us one way or another through that. And that's how they see the big, being a big cash cow. So hopefully they'll backtrack and be like, okay, this will be optional or whatever, which is still dangerous anyway. It used to be more like, oh, well, it could be a security breach, so it could be a risk kind of thing. And nowadays we've all learned that what they're really doing is selling and making money from all of this. And then whatever uses nefarious otherwise it goes through, they're not really in our interest per se, typically. Even though they try to pitch it to us as being in our interest. And
it's to save the children. It's not.
Yeah, exactly.
It's
It's all BS. Any time they use that line, then that's a red flag. So, as we said, we're not going to go into it in any more depth because it's very deep and more complicated and kind of beyond the scope of what we do here. But it is a fascinating topic, and it's a genuine concern for us because we don't want to lose our audience. I've seen it happen where a streamer friend of mine that got hit actually got hacked, and they lost access to Discord amongst other things, and they tried to set up elsewhere on one of the kind of competing platforms. People simply just don't move.
Yeah,
they just don't move, and in the end I don't think he ever got access back to it, and he had to just start a new one. Because like you said, not even half, 3/4 of people just won't move because they're like, but everyone else I know and talk with is on Discord. So
exactly.
Sorry, I'm not going to bother. I'm not going to have another account or whatever. And the bottom line is that all of these services in one way or another will be doing the same thing, either leaking your data accidentally or selling it to the highest bidder. So Yeah, it's a tough one, and we just hope that it doesn't happen. Otherwise, I mean, I suppose in this on day one of it, at least I'll just be a teenager forever, because they can get stuffed if they think I'm going to put all my
Right.
IDs and everything in there that I, you know,
At least they're nice enough to ask for it this time.
that's true.
And
Yeah, at least they're not saying, "Or you." Well, the thing is, that's probably another step down the line.
yeah.
Give them a year or two, and they'll be like, "Right, you've had 2 years to get used to this now. From this day forth, if you don't, you'll be able to read Discord but not write in it." Or I can definitely imagine it going that way. And they'll be like, "Well, look, 40% of people have given us their ID, so it's all perfectly safe and fine. Why doesn't everyone else do it?" And it'll be like, "Nah."
If 40% of the people jumped off a bridge.
Yeah, exactly. So those kind of stupid arguments.
So
But,
it's the whole thing of, well, maybe I'll go back to just writing an email newsletter. Like
yeah.
we're
Exactly.
we're regressing because of this. So
Yeah.
we'll see where we end up. But we're sorry we're not going to jump further into the topic. But trust us, we feel very strongly about it. And we're going to try to conserve our communities in the best possible way through this. Speaking of communities and contributions, we're moving on to the segment called Community Contributions. We want to say thank you to everyone who has left comments on both YouTube and Discord and Patreon. Had a tiny break now just before we continued, but Mari said we should call it the Codpast and talk about either fish or Call of Duty. I don't know. Anyway, moving straight along.
That's fishy.
Yeah, right. Introvert had a question regarding our highs and lows in eco on Patreon. This is the question we've chosen to answer in the DM because there's a lot going on that has, like, it's still kind of unfurling, and it's there's stuff in there that it doesn't really feel right for us to comment on. One, because it's not really our story to tell some of it, and two, it just leaves you with a bit of a feeling about it. So instead of dragging everything down and causing issues, or, well, not necessarily causing issues, but speculating on things that we have no way of fully knowing, we've given an answer in the DMs, and that's something that we're going to choose to do from time to time. We hope that's okay. If not, feel free to let us know by all means, but that's where we're going to leave that one for now.
I think also just to add that we're clearly obviously conscious of the fact that it's an ongoing season as well. So
yeah,
it may come a time where we might choose to comment on things, but I don't think it would be appropriate to do that whilst people are still playing and enjoying themselves in that setting.
Yeah, no, definitely. Other people that have left us a message on Patreon is LadyLAlien, who thoroughly enjoyed getting the welcome to being a patron. LadyLAlien says, fascinating to hear about leaning into the characters. I have some experience from sign language interpreting, because that's like acting the different roles, but it's visual. And I copy what people say. So it's similar but opposite to RP on a server with only voice. I also only have a couple of years of experience with D&D, but coming to think of it, there my DM gives me the scenes on a silver platter. When I roleplayed in Eco last season, it didn't occur to me to actually look around in the game where the scenes are. So that's a huge tip for me. Thank you. It's so simple and easy to miss, and then I think that will level up my RP significantly. We also asked about people's favorite scenes, and she has added 2 of my favorite scenes, except from the one Grumbles mentioned last episode, are when Ivan threw Dingus under the bus for wanting to be his champion, and when Daisy learned that she liked vodka, and Richard was like, "Oh no." For those who didn't see that, that last part was I was ferrying people from the academy from Barovia over to the academy because there was some event and they had vehicles and stuff. And Daisy's character has famously been really fuzzy and not liked stuff. But suddenly she liked vodka. And I was like, oh no. No. Let's not go there, shall we? But LadyLAlien goes on to say, you guys are really inspiring in the RP, and I think you're doing an awesome job. She also has a comment regarding some of the challenges I met in my character. And because of things I've learned, we're gonna not necessarily touch further on that, but I love the input. I want to say that I love the input, and thank you very much for that. She has some thoughts on Turbo, where she says, I'm skeptical. I'd rather either support my streamers with a sub or let the ads go to support them that way. And has something to smile about, by the way, hearing how happy you guys were, realizing how far your great content reach, even to the next generations. That makes me smile. Makes us smile too, honestly. So thank you so much for this comment, Lady L. And the I guess we can kind of go back to this a bit later because it ties into one of the comments that Mari has made on YouTube. But we also called out Tilted last episode, where he has asked, whoa, what did I do? You got influenced. You always get influenced. You blame us. You blame us for playing games you want to play, and then when you get called out, you're like, whoa, what did I do? It's like classic Danish subterfuge. That's all I'm gonna say. Wow, how dare. But I genuinely do love that we get people to play different games and check out new things, and be that World of Sea Battle or whatever it's called, or fishing games or farming sim, or whatever the game is. If people are hopping on it and can even share just a tiny bit of that joy that we feel when we get to stream these things, I'm super happy. I'm super happy about that being a thing. So keep being influenced and tell us about your stories. That's something that we love hearing. Just so that's it. But yeah, moving on to Mari. She had a comment on episode 1 of season 6 on YouTube, where she says, I've been following the eco season through Tiger's Lens, and I gotta say it's been a ride. Also been watching Grumbles do Hytale and been following up with that on some YouTube videos. And all in all, the game had quite the history. It's really intriguing to look. It's really intriguing looking, though, and I have a feeling I will cave in. And editorial note: she has caved in since and has started playing on your server.
Hey.
She also has her solo game too, of course. But yeah, this is where the comment from Lady L and regarding Turbo comes into touch. She says, Mari says that is, in regards to Turbo, so far I have completely neglected this as a viewer, but I will actually think about getting it so that all the channels I'm lurking on can have some benefits. Also more colors for my chat name. And yeah, Turbo does actually enable the streamer to get the ad revenue. It removes ads from the person watching. So if you have a lot of channels that you're lurking in, it might be a good choice. But if you have like 2 channels, then it's going to be cheaper to just sub to them. But yeah, no, I think we're having a little bit of a chuckle yesterday regarding Mari saying she will cave in, and the fact that she has, of course, is even better, really, honestly. Mari also left a comment on the season 5 episode 12 episode on YouTube. And this was in regards to Vintage Story, where we were talking a bit about me starting a Vintage Story and starting to learn. She says there are many ways to customize the difficulty. Aside from switching enemies to passive, there's also the length of months, the climate you start in, temporal storms and rift, the strength of the enemies, and your own hit points. So you'll be able to play it vanilla and make it a good learning experience for your first time. And yeah, that has genuinely been the thing so far, because I've adjusted some of the settings. It's felt good so far. She also has a list of games suggestions for the dinner party, and I do think these sound like they could be good things for us to try. Hytale, where I'll probably join at some point, but I want to do a few other things first. But it's you, Doc. Does Lima have it?
Not yet, no.
Okay. And I think Damien has it, but he hasn't been on yet, at least. But I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either.
There's Aloft, Abiotic Factory, Stardew Valley, Terraria, and Starbound. And all of these are wonderful games where I think we could genuinely get some good adventure out of it. But with things like Terraria and Starbound, it's classically those sorts of games where people who know the mechanics of things need to allow us to do our own thing for a bit and just kind of sit on their hands, because they can easily be charged ahead in, and suddenly we're sitting there going, but how do I make a sword? Or how can I have a stick? It's that sort of thing. And I've had that happen before, which is why I'm not super keen on Terraria or Starbound. But I think if we can manage the pacing and expectation of people in those, then I think they could be good. Yeah, we'll keep it in mind. And she also said that she loves the story about the physical money, which was my something to smile about last time around. So yeah.
Nice.
And that brings us to saying thank you to our patrons. There's a few different ones. There's Mari, there's Finn, there's Tilted and Lima, there's Introvert and Just Mick here. And most recently, of course, I'm trying to make this happen properly, LadyLAlien. There we go. Thank you so much for all of you for choosing to become patrons and being with us there. And I hope that the fact that you're getting the episode as early as possible, and that we're trying to cover your comments, no matter where they come and so on, is feeling okay for the price of $2 equivalent per month. But patreon.com/exit2port. Yeah, that brings us to the end of the episode, really, where we have something to smile about.
Nice.
And we did our editorial meeting yesterday. And before that, I went shopping. And while I was out driving to the shops, I noticed a place that was for sale. And we're talking an entire woodworking like shop, like the tools and everything, because I think the guy is retiring. And the first image in my mind was I need to tell Hula and Grumbles about this so they can buy this place and go into a business and move here. And then very quickly, my mind ran with that. Suddenly, Hula is a dwarf, and you're both kind of working in the shop and being busy and selling tools to people who are coming by. And it was just this fantasy thing popping up in my head. And now I kind of want to do that in Vintage Story. Just a couple of guys making tools for others. Just mining and making tools. Mining and making tools. That, oh my God. I want to do that. But, you know, just the thought of you two, like almost brother-like in your kinship, like working and there's slight gentle insults and quips and such flying, but also good, like good-natured insults, of course, but and then just really good communication and cooperation going on. I just absolutely love that idea, and it just made me chuckle.
Yeah.
So
I like it. I think it would be fun.
I mean, if you can convince Hula, by all means.
Yeah. Hula, let's move everything lock stock to Norway. Might be a little bit cold. He'll be like, heck no, with that devil's dandruff, which is snow in Texan terms. Be like, no way, amigo. I do not want my tires to be that cold. Pretty much how that conversation would go.
I mean, I think we'll be able to convince him. Who knows? Who knows? How about yours?
So my something to smile about was just I do enjoy a little bit of a callback when my memory allows for it. But we had one in the eco season. So whilst we haven't gone into eco in too much depth, there was a little moment for me to smile at, which was, and I think for many of the community who've been around for a few years, where we managed to get a couple of images from my first ever big eco season back on the late shift days, where we had images uploaded and vetted by the admin team and then made available for us to put on signs in game. We achieved that with both the one for the best comedy club cave, which was an image I'd kind of collage I'd made of a bear's claw ripping through the curtain at a open mic kind of stage stand, and then another image which was the another collage that I put together of a sunflower field, rolling hills, and then a little cheeky looking dog that I put some of those deal with it shade voxel shades on, and a big spliff, a big marijuana cigarette, and a Russian Ushanka kind of hat, or a Serbian Ushanka kind of hat, and it just said in the text, like as if the dog was talking, it said innocent sunflower field, definitely not Sikrit Whitfield, duh. And we had that, and I looked up the image creation, and they were made like almost exactly 4 years ago. So it was a nice little callback of like 4 years and different communities, different servers, all the different stories we've told over, probably 6 or 7 eco instances that we've been on. It was just nice to be able to get those images back in verbatim, like as they were. It was like looking like in an art museum, like, oh, I remember those got painted 4 years ago or whatever. And yeah, it was just nice because everyone gets a little giggle out of them.
Yeah, no, I can confirm the giggles. I can fully confirm the giggles. That was it was good. It was very good. I passed by the field and I was like, what in the world?
Right?
It was so good. So good. Yeah. So there's our something to smile about. And we're going to urge you guys once more to share your stories, your something to smile about, your little victories with us. If you have questions or such, please let us know. And once more, if you feel like it and you have the money for it, support us on Patreon. Pretty please. Or something. I don't know where I'm going. Anyway, I've been the Tiger. He's been the Grumbles. And it's
Good
goodbye
vibes, everyone.
from both of us. Goodbye.